Hello everybody, my name's Sabine and welcome to 50% of Booking. Today I am going to be doing my May wrap-up where I'll be talking about all the books that I read this month. So, Lego. The first book that I read this month is The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, which is the second book in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. It is just as funny as the first book, if not funnier. I did, however, give this 4 out of 5 stars because I found the plot a little too convoluted. I can't tell you about the plot because this is the second book in the series and that would mean spoilers, but if you haven't read The Hitchhiker's Guide, you should read it, and the plot isn't very important actually, it's just the comedy. It's very polite humor, shall we say. The next book I read this month is Why We Broke Up by Daniel Handler, also known as Lemony Snicket. I love the writing style. It was written in letter form. It's about this couple, Min and Ed, and it's a letter that Min wrote to Ed about why she broke up with him. Every chapter has a drawing of something that they had in their relationship, and every other chapter ends with the phrase, "and that is why we broke up." So this is a really good book. Min is a movie buff, and I really like the way she explains and describes scenes in movies. I normally don't like romance, but this book was just so good. Okay. The next book I read this month is Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. And this book is about the Armageddon, the battle between heaven and hell, and apparently the Antichrist is missing, so that's fun. This was a really funny book, just like The Restaurant at the End of the Universe. It was very polite humor. And one of the things that I really loved about this book is how it wasn't really a battle between good and evil. It was more of showing how humanity isn't fundamentally good or fundamentally evil, but people are just fundamentally people, and they do good things and they do bad things, but they're not one or the other. I'm tired. Moving on! The next book I read this month is The House of Hades by Rick Riordan. It is the 4th book in the Heroes of Olympus series, and once again, I can't say anything about this book because it is part of a series. I will say, though, that it's a fun book, pretty quick read, in the sense that you don't have to analyze line by line what's going on, because it is very plot-centered. It's very plot-centered. I found that these books are basically all the same. I mean, there's adventure, and then there's the part where the kid thinks he can't do it, and then he does it, and, you know, they're nothing special, but they're fun to read. Just like... I can't think of anything. Okay. Next! Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. It's about these two guys that form something called Fight Club, which is a club where men fight. And the first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. And the second rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. This was by far my favorite read this month. I love the movie, and the thing is, normally I like plots of books, and if I watch a movie or if I watch a show and then I read the book after, I don't find the book as interesting because I already know the plot. But this was just so fantastic. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars because it wasn't so much the plot that was so great about this book. It was the writing style. It was the way that Chuck Palahniuk would be telling a story from the narrator's voice, and then he'd interject random sentences, and it wouldn't seem random, but when you read it later on, the sentence would come back and it would make so much more sense. One of the other things that I liked about this book was how informative it was. I'm not sure if all the stuff here was true, but if it is, I now know how to make nitroglycerin and what gun is best to use when I want to kill all my coworkers. Oh my gosh, this is one of the best parts. Okay. I liked how the writing style wasn't that over the top and it wasn't so focused on imagery, like, you know how in some books, that's nice and all, but it was quite refreshing to read a book where everything was straightforward and simple. Like, I remember one of my favorite lines in this book was when the narrator was at a coffee shop, or a shop or something like that, and he said, "I ordered coffee. It smelled like coffee." I love that line. I think it perfectly describes this whole book, how straightforward everything is, and how this whole book's kind of a contradiction, actually. You should read it. Read it. And watch the movie, too, because the movie's fantastic. It was just really brilliantly written. So, that was my wrap-up for May. I hope you enjoyed this video. Tell me if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. Tell me what books I should read next. Right now I'm reading Storm of Swords by George R. R. Martin, so I can finally catch up on the show. And... bye! Is that correct? Did I pronounce that right?